pre-recorded interview that is actually only in the afternoon, but it's for tonight's show. So it is on the day, as they say, but it is still a pre-record. And a couple of weeks ago, I played two incredible, I thought, recordings. One was called "The Knowledge of Evil Creates a Shield. The Practice of Evil is Demonic." And the second one was called "The Disruption of Centralized Control Orchestrated by Men and Women Through Divine Tech Intervention." So even the titles themselves, I hopefully has piqued your interest. He was also back on my show, my great guest was back on my show in 2018, and he was talking about urine therapy. Now, I know I was pretty negative back then because urine therapy was very, very linked. Quite an incredible interview, and I do hope you go on to outofthebag.weebly.com. On the homepage, go into the Google search, put Fabian Farquharson into there, and check out his earlier interview in 2018. But without wasting time, because I know I've only got it for an hour, and there's lots to get through, Fabian Farquharson, welcome to Out of the Bag.
Yes, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on wherever you are. Yeah, it's been a while since we last spoke, Sean.
Yes.
And as you can see, a lot has happened since then. A lot. Yeah. At the moment, things are we're in a place at the minute where consciousness is kind of rising and becoming aware basically. It's becoming aware of its surroundings, but only and when that takes place, it then means that you're not actually fully knowing what this is, but you're just becoming aware that where you are is not quite what you think it is. So in terms of the depth that there is to that, so I've got other videos and stuff that I've got to be covering, but I'm going to talk about some of what I'm going to be covering other videos on here as well. So we're living this.
I'm definitely putting the YouTube channel of yours and your Facebook page on the podcast page, but you've even said that you've advanced on Tesla's discoveries, which is,
Say that again. Say that again. Sorry. Say again.
You say that you've advanced on Tesla's discoveries.
It may be, at which point that might have been at the point when we were working with the plasma. That's a different area to what I'm going to be speaking about at the minute. But even still, but that is still in conjunction with some things that I'm going to speak about right now. Like the human body itself is actually a charging mechanism. A lot of people listen to people like Tesla, and they go more on the side of on the science side, etc. But if you look at it more on the from the metaphysical standpoint, when he's going to speak to you more about the metaphysics of how the body works, etc., in conjunction with where we actually are with this place, then you'll find quite a lot of profound stuff. Like, so for example, not through Tesla, but through myself, I've been able to work out that now that through the alchemy that I do, is that the body is actually the sun is a charging mechanism. The sun is a charging mechanism, and the body is also a charging mechanism. But there is also, this is what I was saying a minute ago about we're becoming aware that where we are is just not what we think it is. I'm going to build upon that, right? So we're only just becoming aware of that, because what's actually happening is, in order for you to actually truly begin to know, you have to be able to accept that what you think it isn't what you think it is. You have to be able to embrace the fact that what you think this is, it's not that. It's something other than that. So the paradoxical nature of the way that this place works, we could go all the way back to, so there's something called the Canaanite Gnostics, right? And then there was also a guy called Zabbatai Zebu.
You didn't say that clearly, but did I pick up Canaan?
Canaanite, because there were Canaanite Gnostics. So the reason that I'm saying all this to you is because at the moment we are not fully aware of the paradoxical nature of this place. I teach it. So what you think is up really is down. So you may think that you're this is earth, and people say heaven on earth, etc. But really, this is actually hell on earth where you are. Below the surface is more like a heaven. Above the surface is more like the hell where we are now. So this is why it will tell you, if you go into the Bible, it will tell you that the devil's greatest trick is to have you believe that it's not real. Right. It's true. So a lot of the rappers and stuff that you see now, some of them, I mean, there's one called, is he Drake? Some of these people that are coming out now, right? And it's telling you that their God, that his God is a 6 God, right? A 6 God. Now, so the truth is hidden in the places where you'd at least expect to find it. So the Canaanite Gnostics, they would find and to ascend through sin. But they were also these are also attached to a group that will let you know that, if you've watched some of my other videos lately, that, like I've been saying for years now, this is actually a simulation, so it's not real. There's a self.
It's pretty physical to a lot of people. I mean, we've got to realise that we are in it, whether we like it or not. We're talking now. You're a physical body. If I was sat next to you, I couldn't know. Like, you know, we are batteries, of course, and electrical, and that's very important to realise.
Yeah. So,
I mean, when it really annoys me, I suppose, I'm going to chuck this in on with my political view. When people say it's all an illusion or it's just a simulation, it just stops people from doing something about it. When it looks like there are certain groups, maybe these Canaanite and Gnostics, who passed on the information to the wrong people, who are controlling it and making us all live in hell.
Well, no, not really, because the God of the Old Testament is telling you that everything. You see, the thing is this isn't something for you to escape from, because it's not real. It's science is proven it's not real. It's just everything that you see in front of you is vibrating at a particular frequency, and it's frozen light. Yeah.
I didn't think of escape at all, Fabian. I thought of us communicating properly and creating heaven on earth.
Yeah, exactly. But the only way to actually do that is to actually realise, which is what the Canaanite Gnostics were sort of teaching as well, is to actually realise that you are actually above the physical plane. You actually emanate from an abode that's which is of purity. You actually so you have fallen into this denser matter plane, which is why you are a fallen angel. So when they speak about fallen angels and so on and so forth, and giants and things like this, they're talking about us.
With my own experiences, I can say that we chose. It wasn't a fall. It was a step down. It was a choose to come and sort shit out.
Well, yeah. Well, you see, when
I mean, I've had spiritual experiences where I was given the choice.
Yeah. You've had spiritual experiences where you were given a choice. You see, what happens is this: when we fall into this place, when we fall here, you become trapped here, because you're not able to remember how to ascend and to leave, to how to come back out of this place, because within the psyche, when the psyche becomes damaged, there's a self-sabotaging mechanism within there, which leads us towards self-sabotage. But that self-sabotage mechanism is a part of nature. It's deliberately there, because the only way, this is what I'm trying to explain to you, is this: the only way for one to actually go into is to be born into, because this is in terms of Mithraism. Yeah, if we're looking at the Mithraic cults, right?
Say that again.
So if we were looking at, so if you go all the way back to the Mithraic cults, right?
Irish people will go back to Irish culture and realise where all this stuff came from.
Well, yeah, the Mithras would be connected to that. So coming from the Persians, it's all connected. It's coming from, right? It's all interconnected. So because of that, you'll have to excuse my daughter. I've got my daughter here running around. Yeah.
Sorry, listeners, live interview.
Yeah, it's live. So we could get into that with the Foi de Dan and everything else, right? But what I was saying was this. So the Mithraic grades of initiation, which there are 7, right? Those grades of initiation will be taunting you, and 2, the fasting. You've heard it before, 40 days and nights, Jesus with the fasting. All of that is for you to be able to step outside of the confines of the mundane, of the persistent illusion that you are perceiving to be real, which is this. When you are able to overcome it, this is when you are now able to manipulate the reality and bend it to suit your will. This is what I teach, because I do that. That's why I do. That's what I do. Last time I spoke to you, I used to live in England. Since then, I've been able to, because I'm able to control my own reality, I'm able to shift everything, so that now I'm no longer in England having to work and have a career and all that sort of stuff. I'm able to do what my sole purpose desires of me to do. And the reason that I'm able to do that is because I'm able to overcome the mundane base layer of this reality, which is me perceiving that this is real and therefore has some control and bearing over me and what I do here. That takes a long time to discover.
Unless you're luckily gifted.
Yeah, but even then, there's a lot of work that's required of that. So in the Mithraic tradition, like you say, a lot of their temples and stuff like that, if you want to call it that, they were underground. So there's this massive theme with the underworld and the underground. So you're always going to find in a lot of Nurgle and some of the Sumerian war gods and Ishtar and all of this sort of stuff, they always go on a descent underground. I'm going to cover this in a...
Guess what, Fabian? I really want to chuck this in with you, because my listeners already know this probably after over the years. My spiritual experiences, nothing to do with aliens and the stars and cosmos. I always dissolve into the ground and end up elsewhere, but it feels like another beautiful place.
Yeah. And it's like if you said that was happening in a dream.
I mean, it's a descent. It is absolutely a descent, yes. Exactly.
And so if you look at it objectively again, with what we're doing here, this is a descent into matter. This is what has happened. It's a descent into this denser matter
yes.
plane from a more ethereal way of being. Right, which we could go into, because a lot that you can cover on that, because a lot of different angles to it, and there's a lot of different perspectives on it as well, as to why that fall takes place. But so the other thing,
I really want to meet more that experience it, because I haven't met many.
Say again, sorry.
I really want to meet more people who have experienced the descent in however they've experienced it, so that we can share, our experiences.
Yeah. So the other thing I was just quickly cover, so we say that is that. And I'll go straight back to if you just remind me about that, right? But the Canaanite Gnostics also brought forth the gospel, some of the banned books. These books are banned, heretically banned from the Bible. So Irenaeus was one of the, like, running the church, etc., was trying to make this heresy, so we're trying to outcast it and get it removed, because what it's letting you know, you see, which is going to go back to what I was just going to say, what I asked you to remind me of, what this truth leads to, right, is the fact that you are actually encased and trapped within this 12, right? And that 12 is this, like a golf, this maze that we're in, right? And these 12 archons, right? And you call them zodiac signs. Now, one of the Mithraic initiations is surrounding when the sun, I think it's when the sun is in Leo, right? But it's all themed around that, and it's always going to be themed around the astrology, tropical astrology. It's themed around that, right? And the reason for that is because you are a supreme being, right? That has fallen and becomes encased within this 12. Right, and that 12, they don't work for you or work against you, but they are something for you to overcome, which is astrology.
So it's a labyrinth to get through, it's the maze to conquer.
Yeah, which is astrology. So this is where you get this, when they were in the Bibles and so on and so forth, trying to talk bad of astrology and saying it's of the devil and all that sort of stuff, because unconsciously, that's where it comes from, because these were the archons. Now, when you are able to access the astral light, to be able to access to leave this physical plane, then you will be introduced to the real world, where we're at, the real world of the other planes, the other worlds, where we're also operating simultaneously at the same time as this. But when we are in physical,
it's like interdimensional evolution on very, very many levels, isn't it?
Probably 7 levels, and it's a bit like kind of like parallel universe type stuff, because that's happening. But when we drop into these other worlds, that is never actually our full self that's dropping into. Our true self takes over that lower vessel and vehicle, if it is possible. Maybe not in that lifetime, but even the Canaanites were saying that they couldn't in one lifetime, they couldn't go against all of the things, all of the laws in the Bible. They were going against them, but yet they were reversing them. This is the paradoxical nature of events that I was setting you up for at the start of this call, right? So they were able to find out all this, and the other thing that they managed to discover, right, is that the God that they call the God of this world is actually an evil, tyrannical entity, right? Kind of like that, but it's like that, but at the same time, it's like that because that's what this is. So if you go back to the Persians before that, there was Ahriman, and I teach a lot of this, Aramaeus and Ahriman, right? Now, Ahriman is a dark force, the darkness, evil, right? And this force permeated itself into most things here. That's why there's a fish, I think it's called, I've got it on Instagram, I'm going to put it in the video. I think it's called a ghost fish. It's evil thing, this fish. And it goes up to other things, it just takes the life out of them, just sucks the living life out of them. Like a parasite.
Okay.
So that's why things happen here that are of the heights of evil, and they just seem to, have you ever noticed that? They just seem to keep happening. Undisrupted, undisturbed.
Okay, well, don't know about that, but okay.
Well, yeah, there's paedophilia, and there's murderers, and there's all sorts of evil.
That is changing, isn't it?
What do you mean it's changing?
Well, I do think everything's being exposed. I think in the end, people will realise who the real evil is and what really. What if
I told you that in actual fact most people were evil by the evil themselves because they don't understand what the definition of evil actually really is.
Yes, well, that's through conditioning, education, and manipulation.
Kind of. Well, in a way, but no, it's not just because of that, because they have to take responsibility for that as well. See, so this is the thing.
People are nescient. I mean, they're not ignorant, they're nescient. And if you're nescient...
Well, hang on. Nescient is not ignorance. It's a different thing.
That's right.
Right, so when you have ignorance...
I use that word.
Yeah, exactly. But you said it in the same breath, so that's why I was saying that. So when you have nescience, that's just not knowing. I'm talking about willful ignorance. When you know something, right, you are deliberately choosing. See, what happens is this.
And that is a choice, and yes, it's the evil. Yes, it is.
We fall into denser matter, and we embark upon acts of evil, and then we confuse these for not being. And when we suffer trauma here, what happens is then we look to traumatize others. Do you know that people, the most trouble that comes to individuals here is from their own parents?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because their parents have been traumatized, and then because of self-sabotage, a self-sabotage mechanism, they immediately, almost unconsciously in actual fact, they look towards pushing that suffering onto others. And the closest ones that are... Go on.
Well, the thought just popped in my head, just like, we've got change that we know needs to happen. I mean, if we're going to continue doing these things and not changing, but we are doing. It's just, I do think there's an electrical charge at the moment, and it's going to be incredibly positive.
Oh yeah, there is going to be change. See, what I'm telling you is this, right? So, in the subtle layer of this reality, which there is, if you shout, you just give me a moment. If you shout, give me a minute. I won't be a minute.
Live radio, Fabian Farquhar's needs a moment.
Give me a moment.
So look, I don't want to have dead air, so I really do think that there is a way that we all can share the knowledge, and the knowledge needs to be very, very simple. And it's all based in love, I suppose. But anyway, Fabian, hopefully back in a second.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Are you back with me?
Yeah, I'm here with you, Sean. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
So we're saying, so with this subtle layering, right? That is so. It's the little things. So even what we don't realise is this: the denser, heavier layer that we reside within, the subtle above that, where the trauma comes in. So if I'm shouting right at a child, or even the sufferation of when you are making you do something that you don't actually want to do, right? We don't realise that these things, they are the things that have the effect upon the toroidal field. Because you don't.
Mother Earth is going through massive traumas daily.
Yeah. So because many beings here, their toroidal field is depleted, right? They become insensitive to the spiritual layer of things. They become too dull and dense to it. So this is what happens. So this is why I'm able to say to you that in actual fact, we would like to perceive that there's going to be this big massive change overnight and so on and so forth. And I'm sorry to let you know, I know you're saying that, I'm just saying, this is for everyone that's out there, right? You have to become really, really strong, because the grades of initiation that take place are not easy. They're not easy. You're going to go and sit in a cave and do and all sorts of stuff, or they're going to...
I'm just out of prison, Fabian.
Say again?
I'm just out of prison.
You're just out of prison? Right. You're just out of prison. But through that pain, there should have been some gain somewhere. So the point I'm making to you is this. This earth is not what you think it is. It is a place, purgatory. It is a place for immense pain and suffering to take place before there'll be gain. In the UK, at the moment now, there is a digital prison being built. And I don't see anybody stopping it. I'm one of the only people that has a solution to it, and one of the only people that speaks about it, that does truth. That's sad.
Make sure you're not one of the only people and spread that truth.
I wish there was some more, but I don't really see many of them. So, for example, in England now, all of this, because what they've done, you see, is they increase the level of crime. See, we become right-brain imbalanced, and we sabotage ourselves in the truth movement as well, because we look away from, this is one of the things I'm going to be talking about in my next video about self-sabotage. We always said, oh, well, no, because we've got this massive, we're all growing in consciousness, and it's 2012, and everyone's going to wake up, and we just need to focus on the love and light, and don't worry about all that stuff, because you don't focus on it, because it's going to bring you down. Right? No, that didn't work like that. It didn't work, because it was right brain, new age imbalance that filtered its way in to areas of conspiracy where people I've seen that they're not alchemists like myself, but they were still, but that's where they ended up going to this right brain imbalance. They weren't even spiritual people. They were dealing with conspiracies and all sorts of stuff, but he still went there. And that is there was something else I was just speaking about prior to that, which was key. But that right there, this is what I was saying about the UK. So all of this stuff now, they've brought in a lot of people they've been doing this for years as well. They're breaking down the cultures. You was talking about Ireland, right? For example, right? And they're breaking down a lot of the cultures. They're breaking down cultures and they're creating what they call...
They're British slaves at the moment in Ireland.
But they bring people in from Albania and all this sort of stuff. They call it, right? And that's what's happening is this. One of the things that they're doing is this.
I mean, I actually heard that somebody brought some luggage in for some Albanians who were in a house. This is in Bristol, in England.
Yeah.
And when they opened the boxes, they thought there was going to be, belongings like coffee machines and stuff they need, like a grill or something. And it was full of ammunition and guns.
Yes. Right. So, well, there you go. But what that does, what people don't realise is this. These are technocratic occultists, right? What that means is this, right? They have technology, and their technology is weaponized technology, right? Now, we work, there's two sides of this technology. We also work with a technology that is based upon sovereignty and freedom. But they work with this other technology, right? And what they require is problems, reaction, solution. But people are not noticing this. So, in the UK...
It seems to be a massive death cult that's running the show because they do have all this knowledge.
They do have this knowledge, and they are a death cult. Yeah, they operate with death, and they probably would go down the road of saying that there is some type of, that you could call it sabotage Zebi. Robert Sever does a good book on it, Redemption Through Sin, and all that sort of stuff. They probably will, because there are fallen lesser gods that they work with. Their god, that some of the singers they call it a sex god. That is a sex god. It's not a sex god, it's a sex god. So that's the other thing that I could go into before I continue with this, is the sex side. And this is why I said to you, most people are evil and they don't really know it. So, but before that, these people in the in England, so they have this, because people have no money, they operate by incantations. They were operating with the cost of cost of living crisis, build back better, you're going to own nothing and be happy. All of these narratives. So when I deal with occultism, I deal with alchemy, I deal with different forms of magic, everything. Now I know I deal with the psychological, the psyche and everything, psychological side of how you can intermingle that with magic and stuff. What people do is they don't realise how all these things play out in the subtle layers. So when they do that, when they have these incantations, and then when they create the scenario, and then when you act upon it, you now become like a character in a movie. You are now hypnotized, and you are now acting unconsciously and playing this role. How do they do that? So when they make it so you have no money, right? So now the people that have this no money scenario and so on and so forth, it leads some others to go and need to steal, right, etc. Or it increases because of that. So now they put RFID tags and everything, and they're trying to put it in all the stuff in the shops in the UK. So if anyone out there needs to steal anything because you're starving or whatever it may be, just think about that, because that's what they're doing. What they're then doing is they're then now going to introduce biometric face recognition, right? So when you go into the shop,
it's all been written about. It's all planned.
Yeah, but
and the person you were talking about there, they're even planning to have clone avatars of ourselves as a person in that world, still raping the money, I suppose, and making money from it.
That sounds more like a digital avatar, or it could be some type of NFT. So they want to So they want to tokenize everything. But if they tokenize everything in their world, it doesn't have to be that way, by the way, because we work with blockchains. We're trying to educate people on this right now. It's a lot to learn, but it's time to educate people. Because of blockchain technology, it can provide immense freedom and give you total ownership of everything, or it can enslave you to a level you could never imagine possible. So if they tokenize things in their world, right? So they remove, because there'd be no mortgages, because you wouldn't have that with a digital currency, for example. If they were to tokenize it, they would then have ownership of the assets that you would then rent, right? You would then rent them. That's how it would work. And then they would be able to decide what you can have and when you can have it, and so on and so forth. So at the minute, they've got it's a digital passport. It's called the digital credentials. I have it.
But I mean, we've talked about digital passports on the shows before, so
you're brilliant. You might have seen it. So in Finland, that's what they are setting up. But if I say to people, you've heard about these things, you've heard about that, what would be your solution to that? Nobody out there has any solution to that.
I think there's loads of solutions, but go ahead. What's your solution?
We do have solutions to that. Well, there isn't loads, no. There's only really one. And that's the fully...
Okay, you go for your one anyway, because everyone's got their one solution. Go for it.
I'd like to hear some of these other solutions that people
we'll talk through them. I've got you here for another half an hour. So.
Yeah. Well, if you're going into a digital world, right, then the only...
You've got something going on. I don't know what's happening. You're touching the button or something?
No, can you... Is that any better now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's just you have this sort of fuzzy button press. It doesn't matter. Carry on.
No, fine. We've had a mechanism for freedom, and we've not even realised it exists. I'll tell you why. Because most people don't understand how decentralised technology works, something like Bitcoin. And what it means is this: if everybody, Bitcoin was created, right, at the back as a reaction, as an effective reaction to the 2008-9 crash. That's why it was created. And do you know something? 99% of people didn't catch on to what it was all about. They missed the boat. And because of that, since 2009, the doors to...
They don't want to get on the boat, you know what I mean?
Say again?
Maybe they don't want to get on the boat. In the long term, when all these systems come down, which they will, we'll have different systems put into place.
But hang on. There's no system coming down right now. there is no system coming down right now.
They're on the way down, but okay.
Say again, no, that's rubbish. You see all that, they're coming down. I've been hearing that for years.
And just when
not coming down.
You know that we spell words when we speak.
Yeah.
If you hear someone else's solution, and then you say and you spell and you cast, that won't happen.
Well, it doesn't work as it's not as subjective as that. I can see it. It's not as subjective as that. But this new age stuff has us thinking it's as subjective as that. And then what you do now is you imprison yourself.
You still create what you see every day, don't you?
I create. What you're able to do is this: you cannot change the overall objective course of how this reality works. You can alter your subjective. You can alter your subjective path, right? And you can also create. I'll tell you what's happening, right? We can also create immense freedom here. But at the same time, immense slavery is going to take place. And let me tell you why that is. Because there are not. Let me tell you, right? It might be hard to swallow. There are natural laws that govern this place. They operate via cause and effect, right? Right? That means is this. All of the evil causes, all of the evil things that people have been doing, or even if you buy into this, all of the things that you've been doing, right? I don't know, there are some people that say you shouldn't eat animals, you shouldn't that. But the amount of immense suffering that has been caused.
I want to ask this question. Should one have a bank account or not?
Well, this is the thing. Should you have a birth certificate? Your bank account, which is what I'm trying to explain to you, is this, right? When they crash that system and they bring this digital system online, which they're definitely going to be doing, your money that's in your bank account, that would be gone. And this is what I'm trying to get you to see, Sean. I want you to know that the levels of what would you call it, organization that these beings have and how evil they are. They're not messing about. This plan's been going on since 1913. Before that, the world altered in the 1800s, changed, right? And then so they're not playing games. They change the way we think and the way we perceive the reality and everything. It's not a game they're playing. Now, unless you are already outside of that banking system right now, then every single day that passes by is another day where you could have woken up and they could have shut down all of the bank accounts and said, we have to call it in. The world debt clock around the 23rd of September was booming. The debt is the level of it. It's crazy. So what I'm trying to explain to you is,
who do we owe that debt to?
Well, it's not that we owe any debt. It's because they're working with, which I'm trying to explain to you about. I mentioned Bitcoin to you. They are working with a melting ice cube. The money that you are using right now, this is I'm going to show you how evil, right? The money you are using right now was created on a child death altar. And the thing is, Sean, you've been using that money. Now, it doesn't matter if it's the money in whichever country. You've been using that dollar, and that dollar was created, was concocted as a black magic sorcery spell on top of a child death altar, and we have been using that money. So therefore, the great mother that runs this place, I just think like I understand how she thinks. She doesn't look at it and say to you, well, you're Sean, and because you've been thinking it, you want to do the best for this. Well, it doesn't work like that. What happens is whoever you've been doing it, and because you've been doing it, now you have to feel the consequences of what you've been doing. That is it. The ones that are the strongest, because it operates through supremacy as well, unfortunately, why these demons get to do what they get to have away with these things. But they're limited because Ahriman, if I go back to Zoroastrian and the Persian and the Mithraic perspectives, early on, way before all the Bible and all that sort of stuff, stemming from the Atlantis, right, is this Ahrimanic force only has a certain amount of timeline here before something in comes, right, and looks to wipe that out, which is these resets, which is what happens, right? But what I'm trying to explain, what I'm trying to prepare people for is it's not as simple as, because we haven't really done much yet. You have to understand this. Most people only started waking up after 2012. Before that, it wasn't really doing.
What exactly is your solution, Bitcoin?
Right. Now, I'll tell you, your solution is this, right? Some of the things you need to do is what I encourage. I practice what I teach. You need to get out of the cities. Which is what I'm trying to explain to you. I predict many things. I predicted that you needed to leave. In 2019, I was predicted that you'll be kicked out of the matrix. You would need to leave the cities, right? That is a dead cert. these things will take
So
place.
that's why my home is 5 miles from the nearest shop, and it's been taken away from me by the Garda at the moment. But that's where I was.
Right. Yeah.
Growing my own food and doing my own thing, and it was wonderful.
Growing your own food, doing your own thing. You need to have ownership. You need to have ownership if possible. This is what I mean. But I mean, a lot of other people out there, they can't, for whatever reason, because of this system. It's evil. It's made it so you've been working via sweat equity. Do you know that, Sean? Do you know the average job? It's an act of evil. Why is it an act of evil? Because you are torturing and self-sabotaging yourself in order to gain through this sweat equity, right? Now, what I'm explaining to you is this. In this new world, in this new technological world, I predicted years ago that there will be two planes. There'll be two planes, right? There will be a split of worlds, right? Many things I've predicted and they've come to pass. Now, in this worlds, it's like the Hunger Games. You will have this world. Now, since 2003, there are more people with over $100 million than there's ever been right now. That's the disparity, right? So, what I'm saying to you is this, right? You have this plane of people this destitute with nothing, right? And you have this other plane of beings. In that plane, there are souls in there. Yeah, there are those that could see, right? Yeah, like myself, like yourself, on this other road. This is how it's going to be. And it will be like that because of the laws that govern this place. Because how you are perceiving the reality does have a bearing on how it unfolds for you going forward in the future. So there is a gift given to you for that. But it doesn't just come with ease. It's not just going to fall in your lap. You've got to do something about it. So what I'm explaining to you is this. In this other world, which is being created for us right now, it's like Terminator, John Connor, the Resistance. We will have private blockchains that enable us to mine. What is mine? Well, with this mine, imagine if I gave you a money mate. Imagine this. Imagine if because of if we remove the banking system by something that was a money making machine, right? Where everybody could generate money through energy in the house, Sean, without having to suffer, without having to worry about being able to feed the kids, without having to be blackmailed.
I know it's all possible. I mean, this show for the
It's
last
real.
decade, we've been talking
We're
about
doing
this
it.
stuff.
We're doing it today. I'm working on Bitcoin mining on something that's just been created that no one else can do. Revolutionary, something that's a breakthrough game changer. We've just changed the game right now that enables people to step out of the matrix through the device that's in your hand. Whatever device you've got. Even if there was a war, it would still work. Even if the electricity gets turned off, it will still.
I absolutely go with it. Look, if we change the frequency of the Wi-Fi and 5G around the world and change it to a healing frequency, it would be a completely different use of the very same technology. So everything can be used for good.
Well, this is what we're saying, because this reality, this simulation that we are in, operates via polarity, and the polarities, they dance with one another. So if we go back to when I was saying about the energy of the sun, which is the expressive polarity, which is the 11 active force, the active principle, right? Also, once you receive that in a harmonious fashion, will create a homeostasis within you, which will trigger the passive side within you, which gives you that calm, warm, relaxed feeling, right? Now, these polarities operate and they interchange, and this causes massive confusion upon the face of this earth. Even the Canaanites, if I go back to the actual temple legend itself, the warring was between the two sons. They're talking about the polarities. Cain and Abel. One was water, the other was fire. Cain and Abel, cannibal, right? These are where these stories come from. They don't just come from just nothing, right? They have real bearing, as the real scenarios, real things that have taken place between groups of beings that were here after we were manipulated. Because it tells you in there.
History needs to be known, you know.
It really needs to be known, yeah. The real Masonic tradition of how it comes together actually really tells you about that there was another entity involved in that garden process. So there was another God. So it's a different entity that slept with Eve. which is brought about that other child. So coming from somewhere else. So there are beings here that look like human beings. They're in human bodies, but they're not actually from here. They're from somewhere else.
Yeah,
right.
We've covered that definitely.
Yeah, they're not. This is, you know, how things are. They're not from here. They are from somewhere else. I know that because I've had direct interaction with them when they tried to take me out of here in 2015. The technology there.
How do you mean when they tried to take you out of here, and how did they try and take?
Well,
you out
I've got it all. I've already played it all. I've got recordings of it and everything. I've already played it all. In 2015, there was at the moment you're starting to see them. You see those little hovering things you see in the sky, and they move. They defy the law of gravity. You might have been seeing them knocking around now. I've been showing them for years. Like many people have come to me over the years now, and especially over the last year, there's been a few over here. They look like white orbs, but they're real. And anyway, so they were able to communicate. It happened over about a 2-day period. It's going to that story, but it happened over a 2-day period, and they was hovering over my house, right? And on the first night, I didn't really do anything. I was just looking at it. But the second night, it was still there. And I was like, what is that? It's about 12 o'clock at night, and it was just moving and defying the laws of physics. And it would disappear and come back, all sorts. I was like, what? So then I started filming it, right? And it was just there all night. Then it would come close, and it was interacting with me, right? And then when I decided to go to sleep, I said to myself, I'm going to put all that on Facebook. I'm going to put it online. And then immediately, the whole room started shaking like I was an ant, and the vacuum cleaner was above me. Yeah, the curtains, everything started shaking. The whole room was going. The whole room, and then I couldn't move. My body was paralyzed, couldn't move, and it started lifting me up. Yeah, started lifting me up. And when I shouted, Jesus Christ! I couldn't speak properly because my whole body was paralyzed. Only my mouth could move. And then when I did that, it let me go. And I'm not a Christian, am I? I'm not into, but I do look at a lot of scriptures and all sorts of different things. And the reason for that is because they know what's what. They know who's do it here to do what, and who's what, and whatever energy you're putting out. Because I do a lot of work on the astral, so that is what happened. And luckily, I recorded it all anyway. So I know that when people have tell you that they've been abducted and such, it's real stuff. It's not a joke. It's real stuff. It happens by. I've had
abductees on my show before in the early days, definitely. And,
yeah, I know you're listening.
I've had enough experience. Only 2 really dramatic ones, but one wasn't. It was just I saw it. I actually saw a massive bronze sphere firing across over my house with little smaller spheres at beautiful winged, like with the red arrows going behind them. Heading across the Atlantic. So, we all see things, don't we? And there's nothing that's actually explained. And then it was in the papers a couple of days after that it was a meteor.
Yeah. It's funny.
But I actually saw it as clear as day,
Yeah, it's funny because when that happened, it was actually in the paper as well. It was actually in the paper in Sheffield at the same, about a day or so afterwards, saying that a few people had seen something in the sky. But then they obviously do what they do, and they will just get.
That's a massive subject. I've never met an alien. Wittingly met an alien.
But why do you call it an alien? You see, but this is what I mean. It's not. If you look at Operation High Jump and stuff like that, right? They're not aliens. They're not aliens. These are beings that are probably they're more advanced than what we are. They come from. They operate. They're able to sift through timelines, etc. And they're more advanced, but if they come out, if you see them, they're going to just look like a human being, right? But they come from the underworld.
And they can, in this dimension, be as conditioned and brainwashed and hypnotized as anyone.
Well, but they don't reside here because they come from the underworld. This world where we are, here...
I think there are many aliens trapped in human bodies, I don't know.
Yeah, it depends on how you look at it. I mean, but this thing where they were saying they come from this galaxy and that galaxy, no, we're being monitored right now. All right, the moon is monitoring us, but at the same time, we are being monitored like this. And that's why I said to you, it's not as easy as we just think. Oh, well, because you see, the thing is, here as well, the entity that governs this reality doesn't operate. So it's a sex god, it's a sex entity, right? It operates. So that's why, so when we have this insatiable appetite for lust and so on and so forth, because it's a polarity that we are plugged into. Like I said to you, this two polarities operate here. It works with its mother and its son, but this active principle of fire is what they work with, and that is what they do. So that's why you did. So I was looking at lately, because I like to cover a lot of the psychology side. So a lot of people, I notice a lot of times we miss the psychology of how things work in favour of lots of other fanciful things. Yeah, and the psychology and the way that this actually comes together is that I was looking at a lot of stuff like the Fred West, Rose West, right? These serial killers, right? And there was a girl not long ago, because there was another phenomenon that I predicted several years ago about women. There's a massive, because there's some evil forces that operate here through spirits, right? And that's what
women are the most depressed being on this planet for fucking evil.
But they're killing their children, and because of that now, because of the damaged psyche, it's coming forth. Because you see, the mother is like, and the crone is like the biggest storm, the Lilith, Maleficent, that can ever take place, right? And that's what we don't realise here. So her storm is a part of this physical reality. This birthing of this, if you're going to go for this Sophianic sort of cosmology, right? Is the fire of the woman, the woman's scorn, right? The retribution that's incoming, the crone, right? So these women, and there was a girl, she was labelled the worst mother. I think she was from near the Midlands, actually, Warsaw, something like that, right? And she killed her own two daughters, right? Remember I was telling you about evil, and you were saying to me, we're talking about objective evil, about these beings that run this place. A normal girl, if you want to call it that, right, in trying to it's supposed to be bringing up her two daughters, ends up, because of this sex god, which is the 6, right? This is the 6, right? It's a fire. Now, she ended up killing, because of sex, her addiction to sex, she ended up killing her two daughters, right? She ended up killing her two daughters, and also, right, you have to bear me a minute. Give me a moment and sort of die a minute.
So, hopefully you're keeping up, because Fabian does talk quite quickly, so I'll have to go back and listen to a few bits again, but he has his daughter with him, which is great, and we had planned a 1 o'clock interview, starts at 1:30. Such is live radio, and being a radio presenter, let's be positive. Electric beings, giving positive vibes to everybody is not what we're supposed to be doing. No, we just have to be fucking nice to each other and stop the evil. We have a choice to be good or evil. Positive or negative is up to ourselves.
Yes. Sorry about that, Sean. I'm looking after my daughter today, so it's all going. Which is what I'm talking about women. And so I'll make sure I can remember what I was even saying, right? And that's what I was talking about women, because I can even see it in my own daughter. She's only just got here. She never had a vaccine, nothing, right? So there is something in humanity, right, which we don't realise. So like I say, where with the narcissism, right, and this need for attention, and the traumatising of mothers traumatising their own children because of a crone archetype that operates within the unconscious psyche, right?
My whole hell from the last 7 years has been because of my wife lying to the guardians.
Yeah, right. So there you go. Right, so what I was just saying was about this woman. So anyway, and I think she was only in her early 20s. You can have a look at that. I can't remember her name now.
So this woman killed her kids, and that's a horrible thing.
Horrible thing. She killed her kids. Yeah. And her own mother killed herself because of it. Right. But she did that because she wanted to put sex. She felt her two children. She felt her two children were holding her back and stopping her from being able to fulfill her sexual desires. So she killed them.
That was a reason given, was it?
That was the reason given. I mean, I can't remember the name right now.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, but you can just Google it. You can just Google it and you can find it.
There are massive, evil, horrible things happening all over the world, men and women doing it. So.
Yeah. There's a lot of that, but I can find so many. There's another woman in America, Ruby Frank, who has been torturing her own children, and she had hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube of people who were following her, encouraging her to abuse, mentally and physically abuse her own children, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that people don't, they don't see.
But of course, okay, we live in our insular. We were actually being isolated by the whole fucking system.
Yeah, and it started, and we noticed a lot of it. Yeah, we noticed a lot of it happening after 2020. That was when a lot of it started happening. And it's not just women, there are guys that are doing it as well, but there's a lot that we're seeing. There's a lot of massive stuff. And then you got that Lucy Letby, right? So all of these things, the Lucy Letby one, right, are stemming from the damaged psyche of the woman.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why I'm saying to you that here it's not as straightforward as we think it is. Right. There are these two forces at play, and they have to play out. So this sort of thing with this digital prison and all this sort of stuff, we don't want to embrace. See, a lot of the things that happen here is because the Bible, the way we've been taught, like you say, even the Bible and stuff like that, we've almost been taught to ignore evil. When really, you have to be able to face, and the knowledge of evil is not. There's nothing wrong with the knowledge of evil. What's wrong with it is it's the practice of evil. But why is it an enemy? Are you not evil? Are you not capable of evil? You are.
Of course, but we also have the choice to be or not to be.
Well, yeah, but it's only when one can recognise your own inner evil and know it.
I hope you realise yourself, Fabian, that globally there is a forward consciousness. We have evolved. 40 years ago, I was saying the very same things I say now, but I was insane back then. Now people are agreeing with me and actually adding to my knowledge. So we are evolving, and I really do think that there are so many people who do know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Ultimately, right? It's being able to embrace. If you look at it in the simplistic terms, something that anyone can understand, a lot more can understand these days, because consciousness has risen, but it's that shadow work, and it's deeper than that. Which is I'm giving it you more on the much deeper levels of what that is.
Yeah, I like to explain very simply to people and say, look, there's states of consciousness, and when you get to 7 and 8, you're dealing with your own traumas and your own evil and good, and then when you get to the 9th, before the great breakthrough, you're actually seeing the evil of everything.
Say that again. Say that last bit again. I missed you there.
When you get to the 9th, in my little scale I've created in my own head, when you get to the 9th state of consciousness, 10 being perfection, you see all the evil on the planet, all the evil that exists, and it is horrible, but one has to see it. Yeah,
but you have to. But yeah, and what's even more scary than that is when you're able to recognise the heights of your own evil within your own psyche.
Absolutely, we have the capabilities of just, I could kill you right now if you were stood next to me, and vice versa.
Yeah, and you see, so it's only by working through that darkness that we're able to be able to sort of rise up into the light, because we have to be able to overcome that the darkness. So if we don't focus upon the evils of what these beings are doing and X, Y, and Z, then we can end up becoming almost ignorant, and even in their science, right? And then fall into ignorance. And then we can develop delusion where we think that we're somehow further than what we actually really are. So my aim is to not just to save as many, is to diminish as much suffering as possible. That's what I've been taught. I've noticed a lot of guys doing videos lately, and some of the questions that were asked, they were talking about all these wonderful things, about all these things that have happened in the past, and all these years gone by, and all this sort of stuff, and there used to be giants, and there were this. And then when somebody asked the question about why did we self-sabotage, there was nobody could answer the question. All they said was, because you need to stop thinking about the past. Say again.
We are dealing with traumas, however.
Yeah, but it's because we haven't learned collectively, really, in the correct order, which would have been...
You were fucked up by a control mechanism controlled by satanic forces of a
Yeah.
very small amount, really.
Yeah. But that same, you see, what I'm trying to get you to constantly do is to go back towards the self, because within the self, that fallen tree of death is actually buried within the self as well, and it is triggered when we become traumatized and imbalanced by our surroundings. So they only get us to do it. So what they've done, really, the aim of the story, the moral of the story is really, is that what they've done is they've got you to do it into yourself.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
Yeah, and it's through conditioning, education, and bullshit ancient history written by people who only want us to know that and not the truth.
Well, exactly, but they also understand the metaphysical laws on top of that, and because of that, they're able to, the name was so yeah.
We should be taught in every school all over the world. You know, we should be talking about these things.
These are the things that we need to be speaking about. The occult aspect of the reality, and the way that things have come together that way. Because
listen, David, I reckon you've made a lot of people have lots and lots of questions, and it's a shame we're not live. I used to have a live chat room in here. Maybe in the future we'll have that, and I'd love you to come on again. We're nearly at the hour, and I know you're in a rush to get off. So before you go, I've been doing this with many of my guests over the years now. Would you like to hear a poem before you go?
Why not? Of course.
So would you honour me, Fabian, and picking a number?
Well, yeah. You cannot be dealing with if you don't like art, then you couldn't really be calling yourself an occultist if you don't like art.
Okay. So would you honour me in picking a number between 10 and 90?
That's
don't
great.
Really mean anything.
That's great. Can it be just one or can it be two? No, it'll be one. No. Let's
one or two, but I've got a book here and I'll read the page number.
Let's go for 9 and 13.
Between 10 and 90.
Between 10 and 90, right. Well, even better, we'll go with 13 and 90.
13 and 90.
Yeah.
Okay. Page 13 starts on page 12 and goes on to page 13. It's True Pursuits, and it goes like this. Running for election or running for the bus? Which is more realistic to any one of us? Spending loads of money on a game that has no rules while the corporations run the countries, not the politician fools? Just another comedy on TV Station 1, or a soap opera where the storyline has never quite begun. Decisions that affect us on both local and global levels seem to be out of our hands as we're controlled by mindless devils. Although I sound paranoid as I tell you of the facts, but how else can we explain all the ridiculous nation's acts? Things are getting better, I hear you say to me. Will I believe that when there are no wars, no hunger, and no ignorant stupidity?
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So that's number 13, and you wanted 90 as well.
Yeah, number 90. Let's hear the tone of that.
I wrote this when my life was a lot different than it is now. In the last 7 years, I've been kicked down, but it's called It Is You, and it goes like this. Sometimes I realise how lucky I am to have come all this way without even a plan. Never more have I felt so eternally blessed with the gifts I'm receiving when I once thought them as tests. A building I live in that I can actually call my home, and the knowledge of never having to spend my time alone, where freedom is found when there is far too much to do, and the reason for this wonderful life? My family. It's you.
Very fitting for the 9, actually. Very fitting. Got that spiritual swagger to it. So it's been great to speak, Sean.
So listen, you will be coming on again, I'm sure, because I'm sure I will be harassing you with questions from my listeners.
Yeah, why not? Of course.
So when you have time, and maybe free time, that you definitely have an hour or two to have a chat with us, come on back onto Out of the Bag.
Yeah, let me know when you're ready, Sean. We'll do it.
Brilliant. Is there anything you want to say before we go?
No, I think I've said enough. I've got a video coming out in probably maybe the end of this week, towards the end of next week, or midweek.
I'll put the YouTube channel of yours on the podcast page. And is it okay to put your Facebook page there as well?
Yes, please do.
Brilliant.
Please do.
Okay, we will do that. Listen, Fabian Farquharson, thank you so much for coming Out of the Bag.
It's a pleasure, Sean Maguire. Speak to you soon.